33 trillion, counting. We just printed 250 billion in one day, which is what? Is that a national record, all-time record? It looks like the interest is compounding such that it's impossible to pay back. That the only way to pay back that 33 trillion is to borrow 33 trillion at interest, and then we can pay back the balance, but then we owe interest on the 33 trillion we just borrowed, and it's a never-ending Ponzi scheme. So is there any value to defaulting on the interest that we owe the Federal Reserve?
Or ending the Fed?
One step at a time, but yeah, I think that too.
Well, and honestly, the Fed is how we've got in the position because, like, you know, Grover Norquist, who I think right now is actually paying for advertisements attacking me, he set up this paradigm that, well, if we just stop tax increases, then we'll be able to starve the beast of money. And while you got politicians to agree to that in large scale, you still have Fed policy that continues to pick winners and losers across the board. I worry about the $8 trillion that is about ready to have to be refinanced at higher interest rates. We have $8 trillion of that debt that, you know, is at very, very low interest rates, infinitesimally low. And now when you're refinancing that now, that's going to affect APR, that's going to affect every auto loan, every home loan, and the cost of money is going to go through the roof. I don't know that defaulting on the interest makes that problem any better. I could see a number of circumstances where it could make it worse.
By the way, you know who is feeling that the most right now? So here's a basic math for you. A $500,000 loan today versus a year ago. If you get a $500,000 loan, the average person, let's just say at 8% today, you got a 720 credit score. It's not a great score, but you got a decent credit score, 720. $500,000 at 8%, 30 years at 720 credit score, your mortgage payment is $3,669, roughly $3,700. 18 months ago, that $500,000 loan at 3%, 720 credit score, 30 years. Ready? $2,100.
Wow.
From $2,100 to $3,700, but check this out. The bank is gonna now see at what income you need to make to be able to afford that house. So you gotta take that $2,170 and you gotta divide it by 36%. Just do that on your math, on your calculator, come up with $5,500 a month, which means the bank's gonna expect you to make roughly 70 grand a year to qualify for this $500,000 loan at 3% interest rate to be $2,170. At the 8%, which is $3,700, divided by 36%, you would need to make $122,000 a year in 18 months, from 70 grand a year to 122. So as much as you and I are talking about national debt, and I'm very worried about the national debt, the average person sitting there saying, how the hell am I supposed to afford to buy a house today? My income's not going up. Everyone's going on strikes right now. Unions dividing employer against employees. People are not starting small businesses like they did before. You're talking about interest rate on the $8 trillion. You know how scary that is when you go through the new rate? That is absolutely catastrophic. We sold the company last year, July 1st of 2022, right before where money got expensive. If we would have sold the company a month later versus a month prior, we would have made 20%, 10% less on the sale of the company because money kept getting more and more and more and more expensive. So the buyers cannot go buy everything that's cheap. Today, commercial property, I'm sure you saw this, WeWork in 2017. You guys heard of WeWork. Everybody here knows WeWork. You know what WeWork was worth in 2017 when SoftBank gave them $18.9 billion? It was valued at $47 billion. You know what happened to WeWork this week? They could not make a $95 million payment. Wow. They went into default. A $47 billion, and what does that tell you? That's commercial real estate. So the lowest, we haven't yet seen the 2008 default on mortgage payments that we did, which hit the real estate market. We haven't experienced that, but you're seeing it in commercial real estate. They're not making the payments today, and it's pretty ugly. And you're seeing it in the subprime segment of car payments. So people who got subprime loans, these are lower level credit scores, 600, 580s, that they got those kind of loans, they're defaulting on their car payments right now. So we're seeing it in different pockets, and then eventually these people that don't want to sell their homes because they're sitting on a 3% interest, all of a sudden, if they start saying, babe, we're running out of money, babe, we got to sell this house. We got to sell this out. What are we going to do with this? Once that happens next, you're going to feel it. So there's some economists today that are saying everything's going to be all right. Yeah, you know, it's just going to be a soft landing, all this kind of bullshit they're giving you. But there's some guys behind closed doors that are like, listen, man, this Michael Burry guy is worried about the S&P 500. No one knows what's really going to be happening right now. They're seeing what's going on with unemployment and the job market. So they're going to bump the rates again another quarter basis point in the next month or two. They do that the next 30, 60, 90 days. No one's thinking 33 trillion. People are thinking, how the hell am I going to pay my payment, and how am I going to increase my income? It's going to be an interesting next 3-6 months for the average voter.